today we have here Dennis Akkerman, our author, at the Honey Podcast. Welcome. Yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing great.
Yeah,
Thank you, Adrian.
yeah.
Nice to meet you.
We started working on your book since when?
Well, the idea has existed for over a decade, I guess. But the actual writing took me about 1.5, 2 years.
Wow, okay. So what's the difference of being a leader now, post-MCO, and before the MCO?
There's a tremendous shift in expectations from employees as well as the market, I would say. So we have to manage both sides as a leader, obviously. And what we've seen in recent years is that employees are looking for more than just a salary. That is one thing. Why do they want to work for you? Beforehand, we might have asked, the other way around in job interviews. But we see that employees are looking for instance, flexibility in how they work, where they work, purpose in meaningful work. That kind of aspects become more important. And from a leadership style that also is shifting, where, how do you motivate the people? Not just giving in to all what they demand in one hand. On the other hand, create a positive work environment where everybody can thrive, and that's a win-win because you have lower turnover, you have happy staff, and happy staff means also more revenue in the end.
If we could single one or two most important traits of a leader now, or being a CEO or leader in a company, or what would that be post-CEO, the major difference post and before MCO?
Most important factors are, one is trust. You need to create a safe space. That breeds innovation, that breeds creativity, that also breeds positive work culture. So trust is, I think, the number one factor. That doesn't mean you have to become best friends with all your staff. There is a hierarchical distance and difference in responsibilities, obviously. But trust is, I think, very important. The second one is vision. Vision is rare in these days. So often we are driven by day-to-day needs and urgent things coming up all the time. Just doing your work and just delivering services will not work in this market anymore. So vision attracts both the right people, but also the right customers.
Easy to say about vision, right? How a leader execute a vision effectively? Technology is evolving even faster post-MCO. So what do you think about that? Yeah,
that is a big challenge where how can you have a vision that is typically long-term, I hope. A vision that changes every day is not a vision. So that's a long-term view of the future. How do you balance that with massive shifts and changes almost overnight that is happening in the world, in the marketplace, and in the workforce? My answer to that is, and I quote Jeff Bezos from Amazon, is you need to find your eternal truths. Eternal truths means what is still valid in 10, 20 or 30 years from now. So in relation to Amazon, you could say, price. Nobody will come to Jeff Bezos in 30 years from now, please give me more expensive products. And the other one is speed. And nobody's going to ask him 30 years from now, please deliver it a little bit slower. So for his business, these are the two eternal truths in business. And the way you fulfill that is changing all the time. Today we deliver with motorbikes or with vans. In the future it might be drones. But speed is the eternal factor. So I want to challenge all business leaders, find the eternal truths for your business. There might be 1 or 2 or 3. That will remain static, at least for the next generation to come, and then design your business around that and innovate in the way you can get there or how you can improve towards that vision. So it is an anchor that you can use that gives clarity for yourself, for your people in a very fast-changing world.
Are there any major striking differences of management and visionary style between a Western and Asian style?
Also a great question. I've been here for quite some time. Originally from Netherlands, a tiny country in Europe. I've been here in Malaysia for the last 11 years.
11 years? Wow.
Yeah, time flies. Enjoy the food. And so I'm pretty much comfortable to bridge both worlds. And when it comes to vision, I think vision is universal. We have global brands as well that appeal to many people from the different backgrounds and different cultures. So in that sense, great visions transcend borders, transcend nationalities. The execution part can be different. Leadership styles can be different. Market needs can be different. If we take some of the global brands, you also see that they have local adaptations. For instance, McDonald's have some local nasi lemak options on the menu. So the brand is still global, but you still adapt to the local needs. So the same goes for leadership styles, the cultural backgrounds. It is actually situational leadership. Same like experienced staff and junior staff, you deal with them differently. So you need to have a toolkit of different styles that work well with the particular employee. Same goes for intercultural management. So if you apply an American style in a Japanese context, that will not work. But both cultures can be extremely successful. So do you have that agility? Do you have that open-mindedness? That's also, I think, Naked Leader, the title of my book is also about that, is your ego, your way of working, your conditioning from the past. That includes your culture. It's your unwritten rules, the scripts that you have in your head, how the world should be and how the world is functioning. You should challenge that part of yourself, not dismiss it. I would say I'm still a Dutch person in many ways, but I also become slightly more Asian. And I notice that when I go back to my home country, and then I think, what are these people doing? It feels a bit uncomfortable. Then I notice, okay, yes, I have changed. Perhaps they have changed too in the meantime. So how can you be most effective, in my opinion, is indeed to be self-aware of your style. And like extroverts will not become an introvert easily, or introverts become extroverts easily, that kind of behavioral traits that you have. But if you're aware of it and you can adapt at least to increase your toolkit, not just one style, but different ways of doing things and leading people, that is a great benefit for every leader. Then you can basically manage every team in the world.
What do you think of the future traits of a CEO, founder, and employees need to have?
There are some similarities in both of them in the way that in the past there was always an emphasis on skills and know-how, even on CEO level. I would say maybe in the exception of Germany. In Germany, there are less MBAs as in CEO functions. There are more engineers. So in the past it was always very necessary that you know exactly how the business is run, how we can optimize the processes. Same goes for employees, we hire them based on skills. Now with the increasing automation that we see is that at least on the lower level activities, SOPs and operations become more commoditized by technology. And that is not your competitive advantage anymore, because everybody who has the means to purchase that technology can run the business in the same way as you do. So that's not a differentiating factor. So as an employee, what is your differentiating factor? I think is to be a human, to be an agile and an open-minded human, have a creative mindset and an innovative mindset. That are the things that robots will never be able to do. Empathy and emotional intelligence is another skill that we need. Same applies for the leaders. So the more technology we get, the more the human and soft skill become important for both leaders and employees.
If you mention about that, then I want to ask you a question on, will working style, the working style, will it be hybrid or will it be back to office? It means that a lot of people call something that, hey, you know what, I want to come interview, but I must work from home, right? So we at Akkerman, we do not encourage that because we want a teamwork to work together to get things done. We find it faster, more efficient, effective. That's my opinion. So what do you think about the working style in the Asian context?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a debate I have read a lot of my clients, and I actually ask them, because I think the future is hybrid, but smart hybrid.
Smart hybrid, what's that?
Smart hybrid means together where you need to be together, and the social aspect is indeed very important. We have learned that during COVID, this loneliness, isolation, social challenges that we have. Also, what are your conditions at home? If you have a family with screaming kids, perhaps it's more conducive to be in an office. So there are different reasons for that. But most important is it is a two-way trust between employer and employee. If you give work from home options to your staff and they spend a whole day in a shopping mall, that's where the trust is broken from the employee side. On the other hand, if the boss is like, everybody has to be here 9 to 6 every day and nobody's leave the building because I'm here, that is also a lack of trust from the boss side. So I think if there's a trust on both sides, and you can only know that by, I think people can earn their freedom if they show the responsibility.
Right.
If they deliver the outputs, I actually don't care where they are.
Exactly.
If they sit on the roof of the building or on the toilet, as long as they get the job done. But if you break that trust, then that's also situational leadership. Okay, you come back to the office because apparently you cannot handle or the nature of your work doesn't support it. I think it is really an enabler for employees that at least you have a bit of a flexibility in that, depending on the nature of work, depending on the responsibilities of that person, but also on the home situation, whether it's conducive or not. But 100% remote, and we also see that in global companies, that won't work because of our human nature. We are socially social animals, so I think we need to come together at some point. Even in multinationals where I work, we make sure that we have a global meeting face-to-face at least once a year, even though that's expensive in terms of travel. But if you really want to have a global team without ever meeting each other, it's extremely hard. So I think, the future is smart hybrid with these factors that I just mentioned.
Now we are still not getting out of the whole pandemic situation. I think it's getting a bit even tough. So what a leader and CEO, even for a big organization, the attitude that they should adopt to move forward?
Yes, you have the balance between the short-term financial struggles. Definitely in the SMEs, we still see they have barely recovered from the pandemic. So that's a reality that we have to face. On the other hand, what's next and where do we see the future? Even though a lot of things are uncertain, that vision is an anchor that gives a little bit of confidence or certainty in an uncertain world. So if you know these internal truths, you can work towards that goal together. Also, I think it's very important that employees understand this is our situation. And I had a wonderful site visit for a company just outside of Kuala Lumpur in Rawang, and he shares, the CEO shares the financial figures with all the employees every month. And you couldn't even say that employees are kind of shareholders in the company, which means that they are also contributing more or are sharing the successes of the company in that sense. So I thought that's a wonderful model because in a way we always say, we run this company and yes, it has to be profitable and that is our job as management and okay, you do your job, we hire you for this reason. There it is really a cooperative, collaborative effort that when times are tough, they also have a better understanding and even more accommodating to say, okay, we need to tighten the belt or the variable portion of our pay is not going to happen because they know exactly where the company is. So if the employee and the employer's goals are aligned, you can weather the storms better rather than announcing the next round of layoffs. And it's hard to stay motivated in that kind of space for employees.
I know that you are also consulting with a lot of CEOs over so many years. So can I single out, maybe give it 2 or 3, why some CEOs fail? This is the toughest issue to talk about. Yeah,
well, there are fewer CEOs with success stories sometimes than fail. But every successful CEO has some failures as well. The question is what they learn from it.
Maybe more than failures than success. Yeah.
Perhaps, like sports people typically lose more in their career than the gold medal that they win after how many years. So I think that's the hard truth in business as well. But what defines failure? Is failure a business that in the end couldn't survive. Yeah, my own business also survived, and my first business that I started also did not survive. Is that a failure? Accounting point of view, yeah, that was a failure. We had to pull the plug. There was no funds left. End of the story.
Okay.
From a personal perspective, it was not a failure. I learned a lot of it. It was an expensive lesson, but I learned a lot from that. So the next venture that I started, at least I did not make this. I made a lot of other mistakes, but I did not make those mistakes anymore. So yeah, what defines failure? I think that's primarily what a person feels like is a failure. What I think is really a failure is when it comes to integrity issues, fraud, corruption, and that kind of stuff. Even if they're still in business, even if they're still in charge, I would say that is my definition of a failed CEO. If you have to resort to unethical behavior in business. Yeah.
Can you give examples of that interesting point, corruption and fraud? Yeah, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, that can be a quite sensitive issue sometimes. Also don't want to be the whistleblower on it, but I think the truth goes a long way, and in the long term, that's always the better strategy. But of course, we know the big scandals of Enron and those big examples where even the auditors of the firms sometimes also did not detect things, or so. Do you need auditors for the auditors? You almost can ask these kind of questions. But that all, and that's also, I think, naked leader. That also boils down to the personality of the CEO, the personal values of the CEO, and how do you deal with pressure? Because one thing that is easy to say for people outside of the business world is. Under pressure, everything becomes liquid. Is what we say in my native language. What I mean to say is that it is tempting to take shortcuts in this world. So, what are your non-negotiables? And naked leader for me is also to have an honest look at yourself, and say, okay, if I can be successful, for instance, financially or whatever metric you put under success. But I have to do this in order to get there. Let's use a photo model for as an example. Do you want to be in some magazine totally naked? If that's what is needed to become the superstar photo model that you want to be, is it worth it? Is that worth it? End of the day, can you look yourself in the mirror? Can you talk to your family at the dining table in the evening time and talk about what you have done during the day? Most importantly, and that's also from my personal experience, where a lot of people around me passed away quite young due to different reasons, illness, suicide, murder even in one case. So I thought, wow, I've been confronted with this also naked truth that we all going to die at some point. The only question is when. But on your last day, if you look back, do you wish for yourself that you... I mean, the money you cannot bring to whatever is the next destination hereafter. But do you really wish like, oh, I wish I paid more corruption money, or I wish I had taken more shortcuts, or... it all doesn't matter anymore. And unfortunately for a lot of people, it takes a terrible disease or a loved one to pass away to wake up to that reality that now is the time that you can make the difference. Now is the time that you act. On your last day, it's too late. So I always, that's also like the eternal truths, I always tend to start with the end in mind and then work backwards. Would you make that decision if you start with that end in mind? Now, a lot of things become far less important when you think about your last day. And other things become far more important when you think of your last day. Yeah. So if we talk about ethical issues in leadership, this is my message to them is, okay, if you can't look yourself in the mirror, then don't do it. It's not worth it.
Meaning that we can tell everyone, they look in the eyes that, you know what, I've done this correctly.
Yeah.
Or those people that really done, corruption, they can look in the eyes and say, I've done correctly. So We have invited. What is one of the most important message that you want to send out to all our readers?
The most important message from the book that I want to convey is that self-awareness is the start of self-transformation. And self-transformation is needed to advance in not only in life, but also in business. And it starts with yourself as a leader. So I always tell leaders, if you complain about your employees, you're actually complaining about yourself. Because the employees and the rest of the world is always wrong. Yeah? If you look at it in that way, you will not grow. As a leader, you attract the people that you deserve. Mm-hmm. That is really my conviction. Right. So the way you treat your people also reflects on you and vice versa. So if you have self-awareness, and self-awareness is a big part is about ego, and really having insight, because we can all do this simple personality test on internet free, and then you get some funny outcomes on more or less accurate about yourself. But if you really look deeper, if you look beyond the ego, then you discover a lot more about yourself and the way you see the world. And are you ready to look into that for yourself? And are you ready to look differently at the world? Then a lot of new opportunities will open for you.
But is that the push of why you want to write this book?
The main push, well, for me personally, it is also the journey that I've been through myself that I like to share with other people in a very structured way, almost, how you can develop self-transformation and self-awareness. That is one. So my own personal experience. I wanted to write the book already for quite some long time based on the experiences and how I dealt with these situations. But also to really challenge the leaders that the way you do things, the way of doing things yesterday, the way things do today, will no longer work in the business of tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And the only way to start to see that is to look at yourself first. Mm-hmm. And that is very important. Mm-hmm. Second part is, as leaders, we can make a great impact to other people's lives, not only your team, but also by the products and services. So end of the day, if you look at your life fulfillment and purpose, that is also, I think, a great asset of being a leader, is to be able to make that difference for other people. So the purpose side is another important aspect that I want to help the reader to discover what is their purpose, to look beyond what is in their business going on today, and that a business is more than just a money-making machine and everything has to be efficient. Yes, that is the foundation of it, but what is more to it?
That is the hardest part for a CEO to ponder about, because most of the companies they're looking at, especially listed companies, they're looking at the very near future on a quarterly basis.
Absolutely.
Right. So personally, I do not agree with that, because how much can you do in the quarterly basis? But that's how public listed and the capitalism in US is being structured. And I think that will make a lot of people do the wrong thing, because they want result fast, but they are not doing things in deeper or in a meaningful way. Right? So I need a quote. This quote, interesting quote. Have you watched a movie about this movie called Wall Street?
Yep.
Wall Street. Right. Michael Douglas is playing Gordon Gekko. Right. And I like this word. And he says, greed is good. What do you think about that?
Greed as in pursuing something more or something better, to some extent, can be a driving force. Mm-hmm. But if greed becomes an obsession, then it is wrong, in my opinion. Why? Because that is always a zero-sum game. It's always a win-lose game. You only gain by making other people better off. And the astonishing level of greed that some people have is, for me, is a sign of an emptiness that it's a void that has to be filled by external factors. Can be materialism, collecting handbags or shoes, for example, or purely a number in a bank account. And also these people only realize probably only at the end of their life that all of these things do not have much real value. So I think greed is good. Well, it's okay to have goals and ambitions, but if your desire turns into an addiction or an obsession, that's where it will fall apart. And in the short term you will win a lot, but in the long term you will always fail.
Yeah, it's a zero-sum game.
Yep.
Yeah. But to me, I think greed is good. Is greed for knowledge, greed for wisdom. Greed for to uplift ourselves, especially from poverty. Greed to uplift and upskills ourselves continuously. This is good, right? So I know that you're from Netherlands. I want to share something with you. I want to ask your opinion on this, right? Tulip mania.
Yep.
Right.
I wasn't born back then, but
I know. It started once.
I'm aware of it.
1634 to 1637. The purpose I did this, I hang out in my meeting room. It's all because of greed from Netherlands. I'll let you explain about tulip mania, how it started, and what tulip mania means.
Yeah, well, tulip mania was one of the first bubbles in the known history. Let's put it that way. I think greed is since a human invention, but this is the first known market bubble where everybody wanted to buy a tulip bulb to the extent that the price of a tulip bulb exceeded the price of an average property, property house. And
tulip is some kind of flower, correct?
Yeah, it is a flower. So can you imagine a bunch of flowers worth more? Or, no, it's not worth more. The price is higher than a property, and that's only because the price went up and up. And that gives the perception, and that's also when you today when you go into the stock market, the moment you buy a share, you have an emotional attachment to it. Yeah. You want it to go up, obviously. Yeah. Nobody buys a share to want it to go down. Now, if you see that the prices, and you could say a little bit on the cryptos, you have seen this same effect here with Bitcoin. If you see that it's only going up, up, and up, and there's mass hysteria around it, then you think, fear of losing out. You don't want to miss this massive ride to the sky is the limit, right? So it is not even about people wanted to have tulip bulbs. It's just they wanted to make money fast. Yeah. So that's where this greed comes in, is that people believe that this will continue forever. Until at some point, somebody came to the realization that actually this is ridiculous. It is ridiculous that a tulip bulb, which has not much value other than it's nice on your table, is so expensive. By the moment this person starts to realize the truth of the real value of the goods, the whole bubble collapsed.
Yeah, it went to like what, 100 at max? It's crazy, right? In 1637.
Yeah, I can't even, I don't know what it is in today's money, but it runs in the hundreds of thousands of dollars now, so it's crazy. Yeah, and I think these cycles happen every now and then till today. We have seen this in the credit crisis, where all these mortgages, property markets, bubbles, every time this is happening. Actually, you could say that every economic cycle is some kind of small bubble that follows a recession. There's too much waste in the economy, and then it has to be corrected to a new normal, so to speak. But these are very extreme examples where a lot of people suddenly lost a lot of money.
It is very, but this always I want to put in my office because I want to remind to all my kids and say that this is crazy greed.
Yep.
It's crazy. It doesn't have any sense in terms of what investment or it's all about. It's like follow the herd.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. It's just
invest.
Fear of missing out, and that is also, I think, nakedness is also to detach yourself from the emotional part of decision making. You will not make the right decisions in these hypes. If you're dragged into this hype, you're going to make ad hoc decisions that are always. Yeah, not always, but most of the time will not play out well for you. Same with shares. If you buy shares on the stock market, actually they did this test with the monkeys. I'm not sure if you heard about it. That so monkeys They randomly choose shares by just throwing some darts on the board,
Okay.
and they outperform the professional traders. Why? Because they don't have any emotional attachment, they don't do any research, they don't know anything about the historical patterns of the shares, they outperform. They have no emotional connection, they don't know what they're doing. So that is, I think, a clear sign that, if you make decisions for short-term gain, or you think that good times will last forever, what comes up must come down, are you ready for the next COVID-25 or whatsoever? Not only financially, but as a business. How adaptable are you? You can only be adaptable, I think, if you detach from following the hypes every day and going here and going there. You spend a lot of energy on doing that, and I think that are the wrong decisions to make. You need to be steadfast in your vision, and how you get there can be flexible.
A lot of people talk about, wow, crypto is a way to go. Your take.
Well, I will not give you any trading advice here because I like to be indifferent on whether you should trade or not. Personally, I don't. But personally, I think crypto has the advantages of not being controlled by a single power, because who holds the money holds the power is everywhere in the world. Yeah, so that is the pro and the con is, of course, that part. And that means that if you truly look at supply and demand and the market dynamics, crypto is actually potentially a great global currency. However, at the moment, because there's no real connection with the real economy, at some point you could buy Teslas with cryptos, and some e-commerce websites support it. But other than that, it is like the tulip bulb. It is actually nothing. It is a number. It goes up and down only by the demand of the crypto tokens. But you can't convert it to the real economy at the moment as much, as far as I know. So in that sense, it is still more speculation than an actual currency in my view. Now, the middle way, what I see is that governments are developing now the digital currencies as a kind of a middle way. We also should separate, let's say, blockchain from cryptocurrency, because blockchain has a lot of other advantages that we can definitely going to use in the digital world. And of course, cryptocurrency is not only Bitcoin, so there are also others. But what is the connection with the real economy? If there's no connection with the real economy, to me, until that happens, I stay out of it.
Yeah. I think that's a very wise decision, because obviously, crypto is backed by any solid, economy, like you mentioned. Yeah, and people just jump into crypto, just for fast monetary gain.
Yep.
You know what? I think we had a very good conversation on this.
Yes.
And we're looking forward for your book official launch. Yeah, soon. We're still working out on the dates on that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, hey, thanks a lot for your time.
Many thanks, Adrian, for your time as well.